A group of high school students started a project to research a string of unsolved murders.
There is no profile of this killer except for the ones the students created.
What if this guy's still alive? Like, what if he comes after us?
Once you start getting a few tips or a few leads or a few identifications, then the cold case isn't so cold anymore.
This is Murder 101. Listen to Murder 101 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
It's Kate
and Oliver
Hudson,
host of the new podcast, Sibling Revelry. That's right.
We started this show because, you know what? No one talks about siblings and that dynamic.
The siblings, they know each other better than anybody.
Yes.
You know.
Listen to Sibling Revelry on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Episode 44, Frugal Pregnancy and Parenting with Mrs. Frugalwoods.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends Podcast, where you'll learn to save money, embrace simplicity, and live a richer life. Here are your hosts, Jen and Jill.
Ooh. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Friday edition of the Frugal Friends Podcast. This is your trusty co-host, Jen.
Hey, it's Friday. This is Jill.
And this might be an episode that I am most excited. I mean, I'm hands down, this is the most excited for any interview we've ever done. But it might be my favorite episode we've ever done.
She is kind of your like celebrity crush. So
I fangirled a little hard. I kept it together real good in the interview.
Yeah,
though.
you did. You looked real cool.
Thank you. We have Liz Thames, the Mrs. Frugalwoods from frugalwoods.com. And she is talking with us about frugal pregnancy and parenting. So you've heard her talk about financial independence. You've heard her talk about homesteading. And today she talked with us about all the things I needed to hear because I'm on this podcast and I make the show outline. So there you go.
That's your role. So not only are you fangirling hard, this is also super relevant for you. So this is definitely Jen's episode. And if you're like Jen in any way, this episode is also for you.
Yes. And if you will be like me one day, which hopefully you will, why wouldn't you want to be, you know?
I could be like a commercial, like, if you are pregnant or ever plan to be pregnant or have children or ever plan to have children, this episode is for you.
If you're a person.
Yeah.
So before we get into this awesome, jam-packed episode, we got to give thanks to our sponsors. We have to pay homage. And the first one is modernfrugality.com. It is my blog and shop. And if you didn't think I was self-absorbed before, you do now. The Modern Frugality shop has free and low-cost printables, resources, ebooks to help you reduce your spending, minimize your stuff, and organize your life. So visit shop.modernfrugality.com to see all the freebies. And if you purchase anything, use the code FrugalFriends19 and you get 50% off anything. And that includes 50% off anything on sale, too.
Fantastic. This show is also brought to you by All Natural. We don't know what it means when it's listed on the side of cereal boxes, but in most cases, all natural sounds like a good thing. Thinking about dyeing your hair? Don't. Go all natural. Thinking about shaving your legs or armpits? Don't. Go all natural. Thinking about getting an epidural? Don't. Go all natural. Going all natural. The scary, frugal thing to do.
I get behind none of that.
I know. I love your face. You start to realize how much all natural is not actually a good thing.
Yeah.
It usually means nothing when it's on the side of boxes that you eat. And in real life, tangibly, people who go all natural are the scary ones.
Yeah.
But it's frugal.
I guess. So props to our sponsor today. Lucky for you, Liz does not recommend going that natural. She has such a really balanced view on all this stuff that people say could cost like tens of thousands of dollars. And she did it very frugally, was able to reach financial independence with a kid, and now she has 2. She just has a fantastic story. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear this interview. So let's get into it.
Enjoy.
Liz, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're so stoked to have you here.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited.
Awesome. So let's start with pregnancy. So how were your pregnancies, and how did you conquer all the hormonal urges to buy all the things? Because I'm struggling with that in the midst.
I so understand. So I have 2 kids. I have a 3-year-old and an almost 1-year-old, 2 girls. So I have been pregnant or breastfeeding for the last 4 years. So I'm okay, I'm kind of ready to move past this phase of life.
You're pro.
So I've been pregnant a lot lately. So, with my first pregnancy, I felt really fortunate because I got pregnant after my husband and I had already embraced this really sort of financially conscious, frugal ethos. And so the pregnancy and the baby really kind of slotted into that lifestyle that we were already living. If you're not very financially conscious and you're pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant, I cannot stress enough, do it before the baby comes. You have more free time, more sanity, and more energy now than you ever will ever again. No, I mean, I'm sure when they're 18, but no, this is a real favor that you can do for yourself before the baby comes. So if you haven't kind of had that money conversation either with yourself, or if you have a partner, if you haven't sat down and, done sort of the basic financial management tools that you need to do it before you have the baby. So that's kind of start from there.
It is interesting to hear. For a lot of people, that is the motivator. I mean, it'd be great to even start prior to seeing that positive pregnancy test. But for a lot of people, that is it. There's somebody else that we're bringing into this world that is going to be impacted by our decisions and our lifestyle. Let's get it together.
Absolutely. And it's fine. You've got 9 months. It really is from someone who's been pregnant twice. It's a long
I know.
It really is.
It feels like I've been pregnant forever.
I know. How far along are you?
24 weeks.
Yeah, so you're getting
there. I still have so far to go.
I know. I understand. So it's, for people who are despairing, they're like, but I'm already 30 weeks. Yeah, you still have 10 or 12 weeks. You've got plenty of time. So really, truly do this before you have the kid. This is just a great favor to yourself to feel like you are financially empowered before you have another person who's depending on you. So in terms of the hormonal urges, they kind of never go away. I really focused on what I needed to have done in order to feel prepared and feel kind of secure in my nesting instinct, because I really needed to nest and get everything ready. And for me, it was having the car seat installed. I swear, I had my husband install it. I think I was still in my first trimester. He's like, okay, whatever will make you so I'm driving out of the car seat. So know yourself, know what you need, and for me, it wasn't really buying things so much as just feeling really prepared. So I had my hospital bag packed. I had the baby's room ready. At the beginning of my 3rd trimester, car seat installed. We had a plan of action for who was going to watch our dog. This is with the first kid. And so I think knowing yourself and knowing what you need, and a lot of times the root of it is not actually buying things, it's feeling prepared. So I read a ton of books. I read every book on newborn wellness and baby raising, because that helped me. I was nervous. If you're not nervous before you have a kid, you are woefully mistaken. You should be.
You should be nervous.
Okay. I mean, you should be. That's normal. And having that anxiety, if you can just channel that into, okay, I'm going to read, research, take a class if you want to, talk with friends who have kids, find ways to have yourself feel prepared. And then in terms of the actual stuff, I'll say it now and I'll probably say it a million more times in this interview, go used. Secondhand hand-me-downs. I cannot stress this enough because I am an advocate for this in all aspects of life. But even if you're like not into used stuff and not a super frugal person, you want to do it for kids, especially for tiny babies, because they cycle through their clothing and their gear at just like an alarming pace. Yes. Alarming. So my youngest is, she's a year old, but she's really small. But by the time she was 6 months old, I had already gotten rid of like 3 bins of clothing and a ton of gear, because once they start sitting up, you don't need the bumbo seat. Once they start crawling, you don't need the bouncer. You don't need the extra saucer. So find these things used. And there are so many different ways to do that. Craigslist, obviously, garage sales, free by the side of the road. I found a number of things that way. Talk to your friends like me who have kids and who are not having more kids. They want to get rid of their stuff. So I can't even tell you how badly I want this stuff out of my house. If anybody needs an extra saucer, please. I've got an extra saucer.
Get the plastic out of here.
Oh my gosh. Seriously, like the amount, I just get it out. All the newborn clothes, I just immediately give it to my friend whose baby is a couple months younger. So find those people. They want this stuff out. Same thing for maternity clothes. I didn't buy any maternity clothing at all. And I was still working a professional job in an office. Get hand-me-downs. If you have to buy something, buy like 1 pair of nice black pants and just don't wear those and like wear a different top. You do not need to like set a fashion trend while you're pregnant because you're like uncomfortable anyway. And even the cute clothes, you're like, whatever, I don't know. I'm still like a whale over here. So it doesn't, I cannot emphasize enough. It does not matter. And again, these are such brief phases of life. And so other good sources of used stuff, find your local parents listserv. Sometimes it's by email. Sometimes it's on Facebook. Become a member. Even before you have your baby. It is like your source for friends, play dates, free stuff, advice, heads up on preschool applications. It's everything. You really want to get plugged in with that. And then find your places where people with little kids congregate. So free play groups, free read-alongs at the library. Just get plugged into this network of people, both for the free stuff and for a place to give your stuff away to, but also for, the fulfillment that comes from having those friendships. So that's a really long answer.
Holy smokes.
No, that was awesome, though.
Just threw so much at us that I feel like it's going to... If I were pregnant listening to this podcast, I would probably stop right there and re-listen because you just gave so many really good tips. The one that really stands out to me is, and I read this on your blog about a frugal pregnancy, and it really struck me because I think it's so profound and wise, but getting to the root of why people would want to just buy and buy and buy in preparation for a child. And a lot of it is fear-based. And you even said in your blog that marketers know that. They know that you feel ill-equipped, ill-prepared, and so buy this thing and buy that thing, and you got to get your bottle warmer, you got to get your other warmer, you got to get your diaper pail trash stuff and all this stuff. And what it really is I don't feel prepared. And so buying all these things makes me feel more prepared. But the better route is to say, let's get some resources, free resources from the library. Let's read about it. And that can kind of ward off these other things that really aren't necessary, or wait to see, do I actually need the wipe warmer?
You don't need
you don't need that.
Good. I didn't register for that.
There's some things you need. There are things you don't need that.
Yeah.
That's so good.
One of the ways that I did that is I took your tip for joining the Buy Nothing group. I mean, we've loved Buy Nothing groups in, this podcast community, but I posted just there that like we're having a boy, so I'll take whatever. And oh my gosh, I have clothes for the first 2 years of his life, like already. And just the act of like washing those clothes and putting them on hangers or folding them, like that was kind of like enough to like quell me. Like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's something to be said there. You can still like nest even when you're like getting your stuff for free. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would argue it's, I love the clothing. Oh my gosh, the kids' clothing. I have kids' clothing up to like age 6 at this point because I just keep, and my advice to people with taking hand-me-downs for babies, take it all. So if someone says, do you want this like huge carload of stuff? Just say yes, take it. Because I was really surprised at what I ended up using and what I didn't end up using with kids. It was very hard for me before having my first to gauge what I would actually need. And so there are things that I never used and I've just passed along to someone else. And then there's stuff that I have used every day that when we got it, my husband and I said to each other, how dumb is this? This is like, we're never going to use this stupid thing. And we've used it like every single day. So it's, take it all. It's overwhelming. It's a lot of stuff, especially if you don't have storage space. But you can just pass it along as, the minute that you're finished with it. All of it is washable. Clothing, obviously washable, but all of the other things, they have removable covers. You can take everything apart. I've washed like car seat buckles, it all comes apart. It's all washable. And if it's not, just spray it down with vinegar and wipe it clean. And then your baby will throw up all over it the first day. So
that's awesome.
Before my second, I didn't really clean the stuff because I was like, well, it was my first baby anyway. So I'm like, I'm just not.
It's my dirt, so it's fine. And so as far as getting used things, either through Buy Nothing groups or through friends, I noticed that you had some tips for people who might have some safety concerns with height chairs or maybe strollers or different things. What do you suggest there? If someone's like, no, I'm afraid to not buy new. What about safety?
You can research the model number and the serial number. So look on the bottom of the car seat or the side of the high chair or the crib and just Google that, Graco 456, whatever the information is, and find out if there have been any recalls on the product. So we found there had been a recall on our high chair. However, you get from the manufacturer, you can get the free fix-it kit. So we just signed up and said, we have this high chair. We need the free fix-it kit. They mailed it to us. And my husband, I don't even know what it was, but he, put it on there in the way that it was supposed to be installed. So know that for things like that, you can often receive the recall item for free.
Cool.
In order to fix it. For car seats expire. However, I will say that the expiration date is very close to the creation date. And I think intentionally so. I think everybody needs to do their own research on what they're comfortable with car seats in general. If a car seat has not been in a car accident, it's probably fine. Would I buy an expired car seat from somebody I didn't know? Probably not. But so if someone I know, and all of my car seats have come from close friends of mine, they've given them to me for free. So they have nothing to gain by telling me that it hasn't been in an accident. So be a little bit cautious with how you source your car seat. But I don't really necessarily think you need to purchase new. I will say that some hospitals will check the expiration date on the car seat. So with my first child, baby number 1, they did not check the expiration date. I guarantee you it was expired. We left the hospital. Fine, whatever. Second child, born at a different hospital, they checked the expiration date and they wouldn't let us leave the hospital. So my husband ran to Walmart and bought a new one for $30. Fine.
Oh my gosh.
So, just have that awareness, and because that was a major pain. And so had I known that, I would have gone to Walmart a little bit ahead of time and bought one. So you can just ask your hospital if they have a policy about that, if they check the expiration date. I don't know. I think some do, some don't. So you need to do your own research on that. For everything else, use common sense. I mean, if the item looks like it's broken or is going to be a choking hazard, probably don't get it. But I mean, in general, these things are pretty lightly used. Kids really go through this stuff quickly. So most of my things are, they came to me like on maybe their 5th child, and I've now passed them along and they're still fine.
That's good to know.
Yeah, that's fantastic. As far as the actual necessities, what have you found? I mean, it seems like, especially for someone having their first, they may start to collect. And I think that is the downside, is that you can think you need all these things, so you buy it. It's different if someone just gives it to you and you're holding on to it just to find out. But what have you found for yourself are the important things to have before bringing home a baby?
Well, this is a tough one because it depends on you, depends on how you, if you have a partner, how you two want to parent, what kind of home you want. If you're in a 1-bedroom apartment in Manhattan, it's going to be different than me in a 4-bedroom home. So I think you need to think about what's going to work best for your family and your lifestyle. I don't think there's like, these are the things you need and you don't need anything else, because for somebody who's walking to the subway every day, you're going to need a stroller.
Right.
I don't really need a stroller, so it's just, you're going to want to think through your routine and what you need to do with baby every day. And like I was speaking to a friend who's having twins, and my advice to her is a little bit different. I said, you've got to get car seats that snap into the stroller, because you can't carry 2 car seats at once, 2 buckets, they're too heavy. So she needs to be able to, whereas if you have 1 car seat, you can. So I think it's really going to depend. I didn't buy anything before my first. It was all used and it was all hand-me-downs. And what we decided is, we'll wait. After she's born, if we need to buy some things, we'll buy them. And I would say, give yourself a budget for, I call it like the ridiculous baby thing that you have to have. Because I had to buy a shopping cart cover. Like $15, but why, Liz? Why? So give yourself that like budget on Amazon. It shouldn't be $200 a week, right? You just don't need that much stuff, but allow yourself to like, okay, I need to buy this ridiculous baby thing. I bought these like handprint, like baby handprint kits, and it's a frame and it's like the handprints, but we couldn't get my daughter's hand, so it's 2 feet. So
nice.
She just kept. So my husband was like, "We're just doing the feet." I was like, "Well, I don't know what's so."
That's not what it shows on the box.
I know. I was like, "That's not what's on." He's like, "Oh my god!" So 2 feet. Our next daughter, second baby. I just want to say, it's a hand and a foot. Yeah, we got that hand. So things like that. If you really want to buy stuff, buy it. Yeah. But be conscious, be thoughtful. I wouldn't impulse buy a $500 jogging stroller. I got a jogging stroller for $5 at a thrift store. I got a double jogging stroller for $60 off of my parents' listserv. So and be cognizant of what you're going to need. At the outset, you don't need very much. They don't do anything. They eat and they sleep.
We know New Year's resolutions often don't stick. In fact, on average, they last around 30 days. So if saving money is on your 2024 resolution list, here's a foolproof way to stick to yours.
Switch your phone provider to Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for $15 a month.
For those of you paying close to $40 a month for just one phone line, this means a savings of $300 over the course of the year. We especially like Mint because all plans come with unlimited talk and text and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network.
To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/frugal. That's mintmobile.com/frugal. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/frugal. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So, buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So, how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing. And of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/strategic. That's oracle.com/strategic. oracle.com/strategic.
I was going to ask, and I don't know how realistic this is, but I imagine that if I ever have kids, I will probably purchase beforehand one outfit and a car seat. But I'm curious, how realistic would that be to literally practically buy nothing and then decide what's needed from someone who has kids? Is that possible?
I mean, I will tell you something, anything is possible. All right? I have seen people do I mean, I've seen it all.
Live your dreams, Jill.
Truly, live your dreams. I wouldn't do that because I like to be prepared. I told you, I'm like a prepare-ophobe. So I had to have everything like washed in the drawers, you know, like baptism outfit picked out. Like I need to be prepared. The challenge I think with your approach is that then you're probably going to end up buying new because you're going to need it at 10 p.m.
And then you're just going to,
and then you're just going to buy it. And so you start in your early pregnancy, just as Jen, as you were describing, start early. You talk to your buy nothing group, start trolling Craigslist. You know, it's going to take you a while to find this stuff. I mean, it took me like, I don't know how many months to find my double jogging stroller, you know, and so I bought the double jogging stroller while I was still pregnant with my second. I knew I was going to want it. I knew $60 was a great deal. I made my husband go get it that day because it was such a deal. It's like, you have to go pick this up right now. So if you start early in the pregnancy, you're just giving yourself a lot of opportunity. And again, just give it away and get rid of it. I wouldn't buy a ton of new stuff before the baby's born, but I would stock up, and they do need a lot of clothes. Oh my gosh. Both ends. There's a lot of laundry, that you need to do, you know, but you don't need complicated clothes. You just need a one-piece sleeper.
That's awesome.
That's You're not going to want
to know.
Yeah,
I feel like I have so much clothing, and I gave myself a $30 thrift store budget to buy clothing because I did want to buy some of my own
at the thrift store. I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I have so much right now. I'm like looking at it because my office is in the baby's nursery. It's got the best internet, but yeah.
You'll use it. I mean, you'll use it or you'll just give it away, you know. And I just end up using that like zip up onesie thing, like the whole shirt and pants for a newborn. No. It just no. It's like it's so hard to get them in it. Their hands are like
No. You mean I don't need like a tiny tuxedo?
Oh, a tiny
tuxedo. I want one.
I know. And I'm like, so I just love the dresses, but just wait till they're older because when you go out and about, they're mostly going to be on you in a carrier. So the other thing I'd recommend, if you're going to go your route of buying one outfit and a car seat, I would get an infant carrier. My kids my 1-year-old is still in the carrier on your body. You know what I'm talking about? It's, I'm gesturing, but these people can't see.
Oh, like the wrap.
Like a wrap.
Yeah.
So there's wraps.
Yes.
The Moby wrap is very popular. I am not skilled enough to do the Moby wrap, and my children slid out. I prefer the Ergo baby because it's like a backpack. Snap, snap.
Yes.
You can't mess it up. They're not going to fall out. They can go on the front or on the back.
Yeah. We actually have an Ergo baby, and my husband got it like right after we got married because it was free on Craigslist. And he just like picked it up.
That is awesome.
And I was like,
oh yeah, that thing's like $500, you know?
Yeah. And I was like, well, A, what are you saying? Because we like just got married. And then B, like, you're taking this away from somebody who could use it in like the 3 years that we have not been pregnant since then. But we held on to it.
Hey.
And we're going to use it.
And now it's coming in handy.
And we will pass it on. We will pass it on to somebody who needs it. Hopefully that will get pregnant faster.
And you know what? It took me a long time to get pregnant. And so I like had this stuff in my house for a long time. And then after my first was born, I was like, oh, well, I won't be pregnant again for a while. So I lent out all this stuff. And then I got pregnant like really quickly with my second. And I was like, I need those maternity clothes back. She was like, oh, when do you need them? I was like, kind of like this week. So, you know, I lent them out in between, but so having a carrier, I find is really imperative. And you and your husband might find that you like different carriers. My husband does not like the same carrier that I use. It's just different bodies, different people. So you'll have to figure out, you might not like the Ergo, you know, there are often baby wearing groups in towns. It's like baby wearing mamas or baby wearing whatever. And you can go and try out their carriers.
Oh, interesting.
Take the baby with you. Try out the carriers because depending on your body, your back, it's a lot of weight on your back and you want to be comfortable. You know, because I have mine in there while I'm cooking, while I'm doing housework. They love to be in there.
Yeah.
But it's heavy, but it's good. So
I just got a new nephew. Can you say it that way?
Yes.
My sister just birthed another human, and I was out there like live-in nannying for 2 weeks, and I got to wear him on me, and it is like the most amazing thing. He's so warm. He's so heavy. Like my lower back hurt for a long time.
Gosh.
3 hours of that stuff. But he was so content for 3 hours of me just moving around, cleaning up, cooking. It was so sweet though.
No, I have like serious back pain because of it, but I continue to do it because they're so content.
They love it.
They're so happy,
They
and they're just
sleep.
up against mama or whoever.
Aunt Jill, you know.
But I mean,
almost as good.
warm body. They're pretty like not discriminating when they're.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
I'm the next best thing to mom. That's what I like to think.
Yeah, you are. You are. So once baby is home, what kind of expenses should we anticipate, and which should we anticipate trying to avoid? Not just like stuff, I guess, but like all the other things.
Okay, so I feel like we've covered stuff. Something that we did that was a great plan, which was not my idea, somebody else's idea. We stocked our chest freezer with pre-made meals. So adult meals. So my husband, he's the cook. He cooked up like tons upon tons of soups and stews and chilies and stir fries. We froze them in just quart-sized Ziploc bags that you don't need to get. We tried to get like fancy freezer boxes. It was ridiculous. Just quart-sized bags. And then what happened is we could just eat that over rice every night. So he would just warm it up, pop it over rice, because you're not going to feel like cooking. You're not going to feel like doing anything. So it's kind of like either do that or be prepared to spend a lot on takeout. People will want to bring you things, tell them to bring you food, be very grateful for a meal. That people did that with both of our kids, and it's so helpful. It's hard to overstate sort of how exhausting one little person is and how much it sort of saps the reserves of 2 or more adults.
Yeah.
If you have the luxury of, preparing the food ahead of time.
That's awesome.
What about for prior? You hear all these women saying, oh my word, food craving. I just have to get in my car and go run and get French fries. And it's like happening every day. And they're like, eating for 2. Like, what's your take on that? How to save money, how to fight some of those cravings or give in a frugal way? What do you think?
I think, talk to your OB about how your weight gain is going. I was really cognizant of that because I didn't want to have to lose like tons of weight afterwards. And it just, my back was already hurting. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I was really kind of conscious of just trying not to gain too much weight for that perspective. I ended up, my second was 8 pounds, 2 ounces anyway. Like she was gigantic.
I was 9'5".
Oh,
I was you are looking at a 9'5" baby.
And now you're
right.
tiny. That's so funny.
All them brains, that big old head.
Exactly. Your mom was really grateful for that. I mean, for the cravings, like I give into the cravings. For me, it was always just the first trimester, and so I knew it wasn't going to last the whole time. With my first, it was tomato sauce, like spaghetti and meatball tomato sauce. So I just had my husband make it from scratch at home. And he made me vats. I would just eat like barely any noodles, just like eat the tomatoes. He was like, and then with my second, in the first trimester, it was beef tacos. It was very specific.
Those are my cravings all the time.
I was like, I need beef tacos.
Not just tacos, beef.
No, beef tacos. So it would be like 9 a.m, and I was like, I need some beef tacos. So it was fun. So again, I had my husband, my chef, he made me a huge mise en place of all these different taco fixins. So
I love that.
He cooked this all up. He cooked it up in the morning. He was so disgusted. He's like, I can't believe you're going to eat this. Super pregnant. So, and I have a toddler.
Yeah.
So, sure, if you need to eat it. Because there really was a point. I'm swearing. It was like a medical condition. All I could eat were beef tacos. So do that. Cook it at home if you can. Be reasonable. You don't need a McDonald's burger. You could make a really nice burger at home.
Yeah.
So think about it the way you would with anything else. You are going to eat more, and you're going to eat more if you decide to breastfeed. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You will just eat so much, and just do it. You need to buy yourself good food. You need to feed yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, with the clothing, it's a season, like it's passing. You won't forever and always be eating beef tacos at 9 a.m. So just let it happen for a couple of weeks, couple of months, whatever.
Yeah. Mine was Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches.
Yes.
And I was a vegetarian. I was a vegetarian up until like several weeks ago for 10 years. And what killed me was the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches. I had 3 in 1 week. And
I thought you were gonna say one day.
And that was it. No, 2 of them were in one day, Liz. 2 of them.
Oh no, trust me. I totally. You just go through this phase, and I think you just crave protein. I think that's why I wanted the beef so bad, because we don't really eat that much meat. And I was like, I need meat. And even still with breastfeeding, I'm like, Nate's like, what do you want for dinner? I'm like, chili with chicken. Like I eat a lot more meat, while pregnant and breastfeeding, because it's just you need more, and you should be eating more good stuff, chicken sandwiches instead of like cakes.
I started making like chicken at home, because I was like, if I'm going to do this, I don't want to do it the fried way. I want to do it like real and healthy. Yeah. So I'm not going to be a vegetarian who just eats Chick-fil-A sandwiches.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was.
Like, I'm a vegetarian except.
Yeah. For a month, that was me.
Speaking of caring for yourself in the midst of pregnancy and after having children, Liz, you shared really personally and intimately about some of the things that you went through and how you had to care for yourself on your blog after giving birth to your second child. And I wonder if you wouldn't mind sharing some of your story with some of the postpartum things that you experienced, and any advice that you would give to other women who might be experiencing that. It sounds like a fairly common thing, like how to identify, how to treat it, how to like care for yourself and like work towards well-being in that.
So I had postpartum depression, which went undiagnosed with my first, and then was diagnosed about 6 months after my second child was born. So that's a fairly long period of time.
Yeah.
And now that I'm in treatment, what I've come to recognize is that I think I've had sort of like a low level of anxiety and depression for many decades. And then the hormones of pregnancy and birth and breastfeeding just really ramped it up. And with the second, sort of having the constraints of already having a toddler, being even more sleepless, it was so pronounced that my husband finally said, something's wrong. You need to go get help. He's like, this is no longer a conversation. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you that you're going to do this. I've made you an appointment. You're going. It's like, okay, well, that was pretty clear. So I went to a therapist, and I described how I'd been feeling, and she pretty much immediately said that's very much textbook postpartum depression and anxiety. And I thought, really, depression? I don't feel depressed. But the symptoms that I was having, I now recognize are sort of hallmarks of depression and anxiety. So I was exhausted. You're exhausted after having a child anyway. That's just a fact. But this was beyond that. I was so hungry all the time. Again, like above and beyond this like needing chicken and beef tacos thing. Just trying to like sort of sleep more, trying to eat more. I tried to exercise as much as I possibly could. I was very angry. I had just a very short temper, which is really not good when you have a 3-year-old and a baby. So I wasn't losing my patience with them. I was losing my patience with my husband.
Yeah.
And he can take it, but he's like, all right, this is not you. He's like, this is not who you are. You don't yell and scream at me.
Yeah. And not fun for you either. Like who wants to be? Yeah.
And I've subsequently learned that anger is another symptom of depression. I had no patience. I had no resilience. So if something bad happened, I just would fall down into this deep despair. And this could have been something really minor. Like if my daughter didn't eat her lunch or something, I just would like go spiral into oh my gosh, she's not healthy. We're not doing the right things. I cooked the wrong food for her again. I can't do anything right. Right. So this was just constant. This is daily. And it's so difficult to function, let alone when you have 2 kids. And so I think for me, not understanding the symptoms was the reason that it went undiagnosed. And so I really encourage people, before you have your child, after you do your financial preparation meeting, after you get all your used stuff, do some reading on postpartum depression. I had done very cursory reading, just kind of flipping through like, oh yeah, I'm not depressed. Really dig into kind of how these symptoms are described and be very open to recognizing if you think that's happening within yourself, because the treatment is quite easy in a lot of cases and quite life-changing. So for me, I was able to start taking an SSRI, Zoloft, which I can continue breastfeeding while taking.
Oh, wow.
So I had a fear that they were going to say, oh, you can't breastfeed anymore. No, you can absolutely breastfeed with Zoloft, and there are a couple other SSRIs as well. So that was not a barrier at all. I was concerned that I would have side effects, that my personality would be different. Not at all. I just feel normal. I just feel like a normal person and a happy, funny, resilient person. And so I really emphasize this with people that if you even think you're having trouble after your baby is born, there's just no harm in speaking to your doctor about whether or not medication or therapy might be something that would help you. And if it doesn't help, then maybe it's something else. Have your thyroid checked, have all of these other vitamin levels checked. I had every blood test done, trying to figure out what this might be. So go that route. It's very worth it. And what it did for me is it allows me to actually enjoy this time with my kids. And I have heard from many, unfortunately, I've heard from a lot of people after I wrote that they did not recognize the depression until their children were 1, 2, 10, 18, 25.
Oh my gosh.
They went their children's entire lifetimes, or even the entire babyhood or toddlerhood. And they think back like, oh, it could have been so much better. And that's how I think back now for the last couple of years, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, that I was kind of suffering under this cloud. So get help. Go see, there's no shame in it. It can happen to anyone. It's a chemical imbalance. So, I tell people like, get over yourself. Like this is in your brain. Like this is not like some sort of like personal shortcoming or failing, which I think is a stigma that surrounds mental illness generally. So you can read my post, you can read someone else's post. Subsequently, interestingly, I'm good friends with our pediatrician, and I've had quite a few conversations with her about how to screen people for postpartum depression, because your pediatrician is your main point of contact after you have a baby. Before the baby, it's like you at the OB every day. After, it's like you at the pediatrician all the time. So I tell people, find a pediatrician that you trust and that you like, and who could give you a referral if you needed it to a therapist, or who could help you identify if what you're feeling is normal, or, but what I say is like, if you think it's not normal, just talk to somebody.
Your story like inspired me when I read it on your blog, because like I felt a lot of those symptoms in my first trimester when I was like, go, and then got pregnant, and then like couldn't do any of the things that I was normally doing. And I was like angry about it. I was anxious about this pregnancy I didn't know about, like all of these things. And then like it might have been around the time that I read your post. It was then that I realized like, oh, I might be kind of at risk for that after the baby, if this is how I'm feeling now. And I would have never known that. And nobody wants to go their baby's entire infancy or toddlerhood like feeling like that. Nobody has to. So I'm so thankful that you were like honest about that.
And I can
tell you, having raised a baby unmedicated and now medicated, it's so much better, because it's so hard. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. I got my master's degree while I was working full time and going to school full time. Raising babies is harder. There's just it's different. It's a different utilization of your skill set, but don't do it suffering from depression. And what I would say to people who are currently pregnant, it is sometimes possible to start taking a low dose of an SSRI before you give birth. And I really wish I had done that and known that, because I was so anxious around my second's birth. And I was I was just crying in the hospital before she was born. I was so anxious. So I wish that I had, kind of had that understanding at that time. So if you're pregnant, talk to your OB now. See if there's something that you could take.
Yeah.
A lot of these things are safe with pregnancy and breastfeeding.
I think it's such a great conversation for us to have, particularly in this frugal community, because I think a lot of us might approach, we approach any topic from a problem solving, DIY, how can I save the most amount of money in this situation? We also talk about how frugality can help us live the life that we want to live and to save up and prioritize and be able to spend the time on what we want to spend time on. But still, there can be this deep-rooted, let's do it ourselves, don't pay someone else to do it mentality. So I think this is so good to even hear from you, Liz. Thanks for sharing and breaking down this stigma to say, this is one of those things that falls under the priority part of, yes, spend money on this because it leads to well-being, it leads to better family relationships, it leads to a better sense of self. It leads into, it makes you more capable of doing those other things in life, of the problem solving, the DIYing, but this is not an area that you would want to compromise on. That's not to say that there aren't frugal things in the midst of that you could do, ways to get your prescriptions at a lower cost or therapy at a lower cost, but this is of high importance and comes into priority, whether you're frugal or not. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And one more thing on that, if you have a baby and you're listening to this and you're like, I can't get out of the house, I can't get to the doctor because I don't have anybody to watch the baby, just take the baby to the doctor. I can't emphasize this enough. I know people who have not gone to the dentist for 3 years because they don't have childcare. Just take them with you. It's not the end of the world. It may not be the most ideal doctor's appointment ever, but trust me, they've had babies in the office before. So don't let that be kind of the barrier to you getting the help.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wow. That was great. Let's transition into something a little lighter.
Ooh.
And
breaking it up.
I think it's time for that time of the week.
It's a fun time of the week.
Yes. It's time for
the Bill of the Week.
That's right. It's time for the best minute of your entire week. Maybe a baby was born and his name is William. Maybe you paid off your mortgage. Maybe your car died and you're happy to not have to pay that bill anymore. Duck bills, Buffalo Bills, Bill Clinton. This is the Bill of the Week.
All right, Liz. Every week we have a listener call in and give us their favorite bill, whether that's lowercase or uppercase, whatever. We leave it vague for a reason. And so as a guest on our show, we'd love to invite you to share your favorite bill. What do you have for us?
I think right now I have to go with the duck bill.
Yes.
We have this book that was a hand-me-down. Thank you very much. That quacks. It's about ducks, and you push a button and it goes quack, 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 quack. And my kids, both of them, they just absolutely adore. It's not loud, but it's just this little quacking sound. And so I'll be in the other room and I just hear them both going, ha 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 ha, and cracking up. So.
It's
my easy
gosh,
entertainment.
Kids get, yes. That's great. That is, duck bills are Jill's favorite kind of bills of the week, actually. So
I do like them. They're unexpected.
Yes. So if you have a duck bill or any other kind of bill that you want to share with us, please visit frugalfriendspodcast.com/bill and leave us a Google voicemail or SpeakPipe and we'll play your bill. And if it quacks, even better. So especially if you have recordings of the quacks, we'd love to hear that too. We love it. So.
We're entertained by it too.
From the studio who brought you the #1 podcast, The Piketon Massacre, this is Murder 101.
A group of high school students started a project to research a string of unsolved murders.
Those murders happened in the mid-1980s.
He's out there doing stuff. He just didn't stop.
Everything that the students predicted through their profile turned out to be accurate.
Redhead killer profile. male, Caucasian, 5'9" to 6'2", 180 to 270 pounds, unstable home, absent father and a domineering mother, right-handed, IQ above 100, most likely heterosexual.
There is no profile of this killer except for the ones the students created.
Just because some of these women no longer have people to speak for them does not mean that they deserve to not be spoken for.
What if this guy's still alive? Like, what if he comes after us?
I said, are you going to kill me? And he said, yes.
Listen to Murder 101 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Discover the heartwarming and hilarious world of sibling connections on Sibling Revelry with Kate Hudson and Oliver Hudson.
You might be asking yourself, what is sibling revelry?
Yeah, well, we just made it up.
They'll have some laughs and maybe inspire some people along the way with universal tales of what it's like to grow up with brothers and sisters.
We're full-blood siblings, the only full-blood sibling.
In our family. Well, not in the world. I mean...
No, in the whole world. That's just it. Like, no one...
Dive into family tales and explore the human mind with guests like Joel and Benji Madden.
And it's fun because we've decided to open it up, you know, to really like all kinds of different siblings. And it's going to be an awesome season.
It's more than a podcast. It's a celebration of the ties that bind us. Listen to Sibling Revelry with Kate Hudson and Oliver Hudson on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes. All right. It's time for Jill's second favorite time of the week. The lightning round.
The lightning round. It really means nothing other than I like saying lightning. There is literally no pressure to it.
It's not, I fought calling it a lightning round for so long, and then I would label it different things in the outline, and Jill would still call it the lightning round anyway, okay. So I just started labeling it.
I don't even know why I did it. It just felt right, even though there's nothing that would make it be a lightning round.
It's just shorter than the last segment.
It's just shorter than the last segment, and I like saying it.
Yeah. So so first question, baby freebie or deal you are most proud of getting?
Probably it's like the large ticket stuff. So like crib, changing table, baby carrier, high chair. I love that I was able to get all those things this year.
You got all those for free?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Those were from friends whose kids were older and they wanted them out of their house.
Yes. I've gotten crib and bassinet for free.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. You're right. Did it come with the mattress, with the crib mattress?
I actually got a crib mattress for $18. It was an online return at Target.
Nice. You are so set. And you do need more than one sheet. I'm just going to tell you right now.
People have given me a lot of sheets from the Buy Nothing group.
Perfect.
But I still need more.
I mean, it depends on how often you want to do laundry.
Yeah.
True. Not often.
Oh, man. Yeah. They get so much fluid, all kinds of fluid on their sheets.
It's unbelievable. But it abates. Like over time, it abates. You know, my 3-year-old, I mean, I change her sheet once a week, just like everybody else's. It slows down.
Nice.
Yes.
Kind of.
Okay.
Also, speaking of the resources that we were talking about earlier, what are, let's say, the top 3 books that you would recommend for new moms to be reading?
Oh, I love this topic. I cannot emphasize this enough. It's free. It's easy. Read these books. So Heading Home with Your Newborn, From Birth to Reality. This is just a very straightforward. It's written by pediatricians. A really easy way to understand how to care for an infant safely. It's very helpful for people who have not been around infants recently, which was my case when I had one. I was like, gosh, it's been
Same.
a really long time. So that is really helpful. Read that before the kids come.
Okay.
Solve Your Child's Sleep Problems. I read this one also before our kids were born, and that really helped my husband and I to create like what kind of culture we were going to have around sleep. There are a lot of different ways to do sleep. There's co-sleeping. There's sleeping in different rooms. There's sleeping in hammocks. My friend's son sleeps in a hammock. Anyway, so there are a million different ways to do sleep. I think it can be really helpful if you and your partner have a really honest conversation about what you're comfortable with ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people realize quite how hot button that can be when you are both just absolutely exhausted. So that's a good one to read ahead of time. And then thirdly, I would recommend Simplicity Parenting. And he's got both the Simplicity Parenting book in general and then the Simplicity Parenting Discipline book. you're not going to use those with a newborn, but for my husband and I, that sort of like forms the ethos of how we parent. It's like the lens through which we see all of our parenting decisions. And it helps us to be on the same page, to have a plan, and to be really consistent and firm with our kids.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And I will share links of these in our show notes for anyone listening. You'll be able to have access to it. But find it in the library.
If you're near the St. Petersburg Library, don't even try because I've already reserved them.
Yeah.
You'll have to wait.
I had one book from the library for so long. I had to pay like so many fines on it. I was like, why don't I just buy this? It was like your pregnancy week by week or something. Anyway.
Yeah. I've done that with a few books. It's like I feel like it's a donation to my library for all the other books that I get in return on time.
There you go.
I feel good about it.
Tax write-off.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Well, Liz, thanks so much for coming on. What's happening at Frugalwoods blog and with we're reading your book for book club this month, so everyone should already be reading that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's going on at the blog?
So over at the blog, we have new posts every week, unless my kids totally fall apart. But usually it is once a week. I have to say I'm pretty happy about that. And also on Frugalwoods, I have my Uber Frugal Month Challenge, which is a free 31-day program that'll help you save money, whether you have a kid or not. And you can sign up to take that at any time. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. It's all at Frugalwoods.
Yes. Fantastic. And I've taken the Uber Frugal Month Challenge. It's great. It's an email every day for a month and a lot of helpful tips. So definitely check it out.
Liz, yours was the very first article that we referenced on our Frugal Friends episode 1. So
yes,
there's some history here for us. So we've appreciated having you on, all your good wisdom and tips. It's fantastic.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure.
This was definitely as awesome as I thought it was going to be. I hope everyone else thought that too.
Liz just really hit us with a ton of tips. I'm honest when I say that I would probably listen to this again if I was going to have a kid, because there's so much good meat in there that, she's done this. So that's something, right? She has 2 kids. So that helps with her, resume. But also she's so good on this topic and has some really good, profound insight on how to meet our needs without breaking the bank. So just fantastic.
Yeah. And she's so level-headed about it. I love, because I haven't even had a kid yet, and I'm hearing things from parents and not parents, just on all the things that I should do. And just to hear a clear, level-headed chat with her is just so refreshing.
Yeah, seriously. I didn't expect the freedom she was going to give on whatever, just eat food.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody that tells me to eat food is my friend.
Seriously, it's a great thing to hear.
And so that's why we're so stoked. We are reading Meet the Frugalwoods by Liz Thames. We love that book. And I didn't even get to tell Liz she's the reason I don't wear makeup anymore. I forgot to mention that.
But well, maybe if she listens to this, she'll know now. Thanks, Liz.
Yeah. Thank you.
Going all natural, one woman at a time.
Yes.
Going all natural looks good on you, though, Jen.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So we are continuing to read that book.
Yeah. So get in on it. And if you want a free copy of this amazing book by this amazing woman who you just got to hear talk in your ears, leave us a review on iTunes or Stitcher, screenshot the review, and send it to us at frugalfriendspodcast@gmail.com. And we will select the winners at the end of the month. We give away 1 book to every 5 reviews that get sent to us. So the stakes, the odds are pretty good that if you do that, you might be getting yourself this book by Liz.
Yes. You have a 1 in 5 chance, essentially.
That's good.
I mean, I'm no mathematician, but yeah. So, and if you want an example of a really great review, we're gonna highlight a great review for you. It's 5 stars.
It has all the makings of a good review because it has 5 stars.
Yes. And it is from Bonnie, and she says, ladies, I love your podcast. I mean, I binge listened to them just so that I could be all caught up in like a couple weeks. You know, I had to work, sleep, and other frugal fun in between. You spark great conversations for me to have. I love how you talk about your husbands and how they perceive frugality. Your podcast totally helped me start 2019 off with my own no-spend year. Yes, thank you, Kate Flanders. I love the balance you show to frugality. The tips and tricks you give are awesome. Keep up the amazing work. Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
Thank
I love
you.
the voice you used for that too, Jen.
I feel like that's the voice she was using. So that's what I had to do. But man,
that's fantastic.
Gosh, thank you so much, Bonnie.
Thanks, Bonnie. I'm glad to talk about my husband. I'm glad and holy smokes that you are going to do a no-spend year because of Kate Flanders. Go for it and keep us updated in our
please.
Frugal Friends Facebook community.
Yes. frugalfriendspodcast.com/group.
And come chat with us. Tell us your amazing stories and what you're doing to be frugal. And until then, see you next week.
Bye. Frugal Friends is produced, edited, and mixed by Eric Siriano. Oh my gosh. Do you remember in the first episode where I referred to Liz as like the godmother of frugality? Or like...
You've referred to her as so many things, like godmother, goddess, the queen. What other things are there? Like
I don't
your
recall
highness,
all those things.
the
That's
mother.
I didn't say that.
The woman on top, the woman all the way up there, knowing all the stuff.
I didn't say all that.
No, you've used so many words and they're all so extreme and intense, but they place such high honor and value and respect.
I mean,
on Liz and her work.
I think I just... Okay.
Are you afraid to have this recorded? Like, it's true, but I don't want to admit it.
I just like her a lot. I don't know.
I do too, Jen. You know, I have never used the word goddess, but
I've never used the word goddess either.
Yes,
Jill.
you have. You 100% have. Don't deny it. Just give in. If you can't beat them, join them. That's what I always say.
Okay.
It works out for me.
All right.
I'm glad you got to interact with a goddess today. Your face, those are daggers. I probably shouldn't mess with a pregnant woman, actually. It's a good thing, though, that we do live a couple 100 miles apart.
I know, right?
Or I just won't open mail from you.
I would never. I would never.
You would never. Okay.
A group of high school students started a project to research a string of unsolved murders.
There is no profile of this killer except for the ones the students created.
What if this guy's still alive? Like, what if he comes after us?
Once you start getting a few tips or a few leads or a few identifications, then the cold case isn't so cold anymore.
This is Murder 101. Listen to Murder 101 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Discover the heartwarming and hilarious world of sibling connections on Sibling Revelry with Kate Hudson and Oliver Hudson. Dive into family tales, explore the human mind, and laugh with guests like Joel and Benji Madden. It's more than a podcast, it's a celebration of the ties that bind us.
And it's fun because we've decided to open it up to really like all kinds of different siblings. And it's going to be an awesome season.
Listen to Sibling Revelry with Kate Hudson and Oliver Hudson on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.